All right.
How you doing? Good to see you.
After a long time of not having class, we're, God willing, resuming, and hopefully we'll stay to a regular schedule. Tonight is Wednesday night, February 2nd, 2022. Continuing in Ben Ish Hai, we're going to try, if God allows us, to go through all of Ben Ish Hai. We're on the first year of Ben Ish Hai, Perashat Lekh Lekha, continuing with the halachot of Sissit. הלכה א', הגידיל יעשהו חוליות, כל חוליה משלוש כריכות, ובתחילה יקשור שני קשרים סמוך לקנה ויחלוק 7 כריכות, ויקשור שני קשרים אחרים ויחלוק 8 כריכות, ויקשור שני קשרים אחרים ויחלוק 11 כריכות, ויקשור שני קשרים ויחלוק 13 כריכות, ואחר כך יקשור עוד שני קשרים והרי סך הכל טל כריכות כמניין הוויה אחד, וכמו שכתב רבנו זכרונו לברכה בספר הכוונות. So the gidil that he talks about, the first word, the gidil is the corner of the tallet, okay? And in that corner, that's where you have, that circle that's exactly in the center of that square area. And this where you're going to put the strings of the sissit, okay? And you have to make them in huliot in the sense meaning that you have to have these groups, okay? And the groups that are between each knot, okay? Yeah, because you have the kirichot and you have the huliot. So what do you do first? It's telling you how to make the sissit. In the beginning, you have to make 2 knots, okay? The first one, you're putting the sissit strings through it, and you make 2 knots. After you make 2 knots that are close to the corner, then you make 7 windings, if you will, okay? And you do another 2 knots, then 8 windings, another 2 knots, 11 windings, another 2 knots, 13 windings, okay? After all is said and done, how many of these windings do you have? You have 39 windings, and those 39 equal the numerical value of Hashem Ehad. Hashem Yud Kei Vav Kei is 26, and Ehad is 13, so you have 39. And this is written in Sefer HaKavanot. ועשיתי סימן לדבר זה, תן חלק לשבעה וגם לשמונה. There's a pasuk in Kohelet. Give a portion for the 7, give a portion for the 8, because when you remember that, you'll remember how to start off, putting together the sissit. נמצא, תחילה 7 כריכות, ואחר כך 8 כריכות, ואחר כך תעשה 11 כמניין אותיות לשבעה לשמונה. Okay, then if you want to know how many, so you have the first is 7, basically תחילה לשבעה וגם לשמונה, so you know the first is 7, and the second one is 8, and then if you add up the letters of לשבעה and לשמונה, come out to 11 letters, so you'll know the next one is 11. Okay, ואחר כך תעשה 13 כמניין אותיות תן חלק לשבעה וגם. Then add the first part of the pasuk gives you 13 letters. This is his way, the Ben Ish Hai's way of remembering it. I've seen other ways of remembering it. In fact, the Nahan Messiah writes, it's 7, 8, 11, 13, right? So 7 is Zayin, 8 is Het, 11 is Yod Aleph, and 13 is Yod Gimel. And you look at the Rashi Tevot, Zayin, Het, Yod Aleph, Yod Gimel, Zeman, Hayenu, Ya'arich, Yigdal. Another way to remember it. Okay?
Who's Rabbeinu in this case? He's referred to
Rabbeinu, the Sefer HaKavanot. So
Ari.
the Sefer
That's the Ari. Okay, yeah. No?
So the Ari, technically, as far as we know, did not write any books that are with us. Okay, so to tell us who Rabbeinu is, we'll take out Sefer HaKavanot and we'll see if it has an author on it. How about that?
I've heard about that it was his main disciple.
You're being recorded, so watch what you say.
It was,
Thrown
what was his
out.
name again? Chaim Vital.
Mhm.
See, I know my Kabbalah. I used to be into it
You did?
back in the day.
Yeah.
When I first met you, 1998.
There you go.
What's Oprah's house?
Hmm?
Yeah.
Sefer Kavanot.
Did Rachel try and kick you out because of that? or-
No, they were nice.
So
They felt bad.
it's Sefer Kavanot leharab Elohi kadosh umar lo kmo mon harab yishak luliyah. So the book is of the Ari, okay, but it was basically brought to press by Rabbi Moshe Trinki,
Oh,
okay. So it's based upon the Ari, but the Ari himself doesn't seem to have put it together and brought it to press,
mhm.
okay.
Okay.
But so yes, Rabbeinu in this case he would be referring to the Ari, but again there are people that say maybe the Ari didn't write it, maybe it's based upon the Ari. Okay. Hello David, welcome back.
There you
הלכה ב' גוי שתלה החוטין של סיסית בטלט או שעשה החוליות והקשרים פסולה. If the goy attached the strings, made the knots, did any of this, it's pasul. Okay? No good. Has to be a Yehudi. אבל האישה כשרה להתיר לסיסית בטלט לעשות החוליות והקשרים. But people say, well, what about a woman? You know, the woman is kasher. She's kashera. She could definitely do it. ויש מחמירים שלא לעשות על ידי נשים. And there are those that are מחמיר not to allow a woman to do it. ולכן לכתחילה צריך להיזהר שלא לעשות תליית החוטין ופריחתן וקשירתן על ידי נשים. So לכתחילה is telling you, okay, and now it's difficult to say לכתחילה since you're saying it's a humrah, so יש מחמירים. So to tell you that really the best way to do it is to not have a woman do it. إلا على يدي أناشيم, rather have a man do it. אבל تبيا وجزيرة عوسين גם לכתחילה על ידי הנשים והקטן דינו כאישה לעניין זה. But actually, what do you call it, the weaving, okay, and creating of the strings itself, okay, there's another word for it, it's not weaving,
Tying?
not tying, no. When you actually make,
Threading it?
it's not really threading it, it's, maybe it's weaving. I don't know. All right,
Okay.
actually making strings, okay? In other words, you have raw material and you're making strings.
Oh, we're making it.
Making the strings, okay? Because every string, think about it, it's so many little strands,
Right.
you know, that are wound together. So that l'chatahila, no problem, woman. And also katan, like a woman. ולכן l'chatahila in לעשות תליית החוטין והקריחות והקשרים על ידי קטן, and therefore also a katan, a child should not be doing it, l'chatahila, putting on the strings and knotting them, אלא על ידי גדול. ומיהו? כל שהוא בן 13 שנה ויום אחד, יעשה לכתחילה. Anybody who's already reached the age of 13 years in one day, can do it לכתחילה, ואין צריך לבדוק אם יש לו שתי שערות. And you do not need to check if he has already hit the stage of puberty that he has 2 pubic hairs. Okay? Once he's reached the age of 13 years one day, it would be considered okay to put the strings on and tie them لفتح. So, what does it say about this? لفتح יש להחמיר שדווקא איש יטיל חוטי הסיסית בבגד הטלט ולא אישה.
Take a picture of that or no?
Yeah, we'll take a picture in a second. Let me just finish reading it. Okay, so he's saying that really the best way, the proper way to do the sisit, to attach the sisit strings to the garment and tie them, is that you should be mahmir and have a man do it. Below isha. ונער שהגיע לגיל 13 שנה ויום אחד, אך לא נבדק אם הביא 2 שערות, כאשר אף לכתחילה להטיח חוטי הסיסית בבגד הטלט, בדיעבד אפילו הטילו האישה או קטן חוטי הסיסית בבגד הטלט, כשהיה הטלט לברכה. So it doesn't really seem to go against the Ben Ish Hai over here, because he's also saying that Lekh Lekha be mahmir. Okay? And don't allow the woman to do it. And a child from the age of 13 years and 1 day is okay, even without checking him. And Bidi Abad, okay, if it happens to be that a woman or a child attach the strings and tie them, then the Tallet is kasher and you can make a beracha on it and everything. So he really doesn't say anything different about it. Okay?
You give reasoning behind it?
Well, obviously, he has plenty to read about it.
Right.
Okay. Let's see if there's anything specific. I hear Jackie Minaj coughing. I'll see you tomorrow morning for cough medicine, Jack. No, he goes through a whole thing. But it's very difficult for me personally. But I'm gonna have to
My
read it
grandmother used
further.
to do my strings.
Mm-hmm.
My Tallet. They see it actually, not Tallet.
Really?
She used to make them or just like tie
No,
them?
she-
Tie
tie
them.
them,
She
say-
used to tie the whole thing, all the knots and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Seriously? That's amazing.
I'm trying to see if there's any real reason to say why. Why to go with the humra lekhatahillah? That's the difficult thing for me. If you tell you it's a humra, why does that now become the khatahillah?
In other words, what's the source of the
No.
Qumran? Why is he partial to it?
Don't know, but I don't want to get into it
It's
now.
always more holy to do the Humana. You know that.
No, it's
No,
not.
it's not.
Generally, it's
It's not
not.
like him to say that.
No, generally, it's not. And I'm also surprised at the mindset over here.
Which one? Both of them?
Both of them. If the Isha is Kishira,
Right.
okay, so why are you saying that? Here we go. So it comes from Rabbeinu Tam. And the Humra seems to be coming from Muram.
And they're both following them.
Yeah. And they're both following them. Interesting. It needs further examination. Okay. We'll move forward. הלכה ג' אם הטיל ישראל סיסית בבגד שלא בכוונה, כלומר שלא נתכוון לשם מצוות סיסית, יש פוסלים ויש מכשירים. והלכה כסברת הפוסלים, ולכן צריך להתירה ויחזור ויתירם לשם מצוות סיסית. So if a Jew put the sisit onto the garment and he didn't have kavanah, he didn't have the proper intention, okay? He wasn't thinking about doing the mizrah of sisit. There are those sources that say it's pasul and those say it's kasher. And halakha is it's pasul. And therefore, the only way is to unknot it completely and do it from scratch. And you have to do it with the kavanah that you're doing with Hashem is what sisit.
Why else would you be doing these knots in a certain way?
I don't know. I don't know why.
I know
Okay.
that when I was in school.
Let's say you're working in a Judaica store. Okay. A lot of times the owner of a Judaica store gets a Tallet, and it's cheaper for him to get Tallet separately and get the string separately and just do them. Okay. Or if somebody orders a special order type of Tallet, when you have workers doing, and the worker, they're talking to his friend while he's doing the strings. He's not having kavanah. That's the only scenario I could think of offhand. But go ahead, Barry. What do you got?
Yeah, I just remember when I was in school, we tied Sissit, we were before 13, maybe 11 or 12. I remember the rabbi saying that where we can make the Sissit for now, but they're not
Kasher to wear?
kasher to wear after you're 13.
Mhm.
I guess this sounds like the katan's really not supposed to make it,
Right.
type of thing, so that's the idea, right?
Okay, but that's, right now we're talking about the
Yeah, yeah,
kavanah.
Well, maybe it comes from the kavanah part. The 13-year-old is not, the 12-year-old's not really obligated,
Mhm.
so they don't have the intent to make this.
Maybe.
That's what I was saying.
Okay. ואם הוא שבת, שאי אפשר לו להתירם ולקושרם, now let's say it's Shabbat, and you end up with this tallit in your hand, and you found out that this is how the seed will put on, what are you supposed to do? You can't take it apart and retie it on Shabbat. ואין לו tallit אחרת כשלם, you have no other kosher tallit. יש לסמוך על המתירים באותו היום דווקא. So only for that day, rely on those sources and those hachamim that say it's mutar. ואחר שבת יתקננה, אך לא יברך ספק ברכות להקל. And after the Shabbat, fix it up. But in any case, you don't make a beracha because ספק ברכות להקל. וברכות אינם מעכבות. And the beracha is not מעכב the wearing. Okay, ולכן, כל אדם יזהה שלא יסמוך בתליות החוטים בתיקונם, אלא על אדם ירא שמיים ומוחזק בכשרות ובקיא ויודע לכוון לשם מצווה ולעשות כל הדברים כתיקונם. Therefore, every person, okay, should know who is behind the same way you know the sofer, you know, writing the Sefer Torah for you, or the Tallet, or the brother, or the Tefillin, or the Mezuzot, whoever it may be. Same thing over here, make sure it's somebody Yireh Shamayim that's handling your Tallet for you. Okay? Well, let's say, I don't know, let's say the Knis has a bunch of them, and Shamash is supposed to take care of it, and he got busy, and he doesn't have time to fix a whole bunch of Tallets or retie them. So he taught, you know, the Spanioli guy who helps, hey, do this. You don't know what happened.
Right.
So something like that. Or he told, you know, the kids that are running around, come, I'll give you a chocolate bar if you do this. Who knows? ועל כן יזהר לומר בפיו מקודם, הריני מטיל סיסיות אלו לשם מצוות סיסית. And therefore verbally say, as you begin this procedure of putting on the sisit, tying them, say, הריני מטיל סיסיות אלו לשם מצוות סיסית. Behold, I am attaching and hanging these strings for the purpose of the mitzvah of sisit. يعني יש אומרים כל דבר צריך כוונה לשמה, צריך להוציא הכוונה בשפתיו. Because there are those sources that say anything that needs כוונה לשמה, you have to actually verbalize it, you have to say the words. צריך לשם כוונה בשפתיו. וכמו שכתבו האחרונים בדים הטבעייה ושזירה וטוב דבר לשם יחוק שמריך ושנתה, הריני מוכן להתיר סיסיות בארבע כנפות הבגד הזה, כמו שהבנו אדוני אלוהינו בתורתו, ועשו להם סיסית על כנפי בגדיהם, ונאמר גדלים תעשת לך על ארבע כנפות כשרותך, שתכסה בה, והיא רצון לפניך אדוני אלוהינו בתורתו, שאנחנו מקיימים מצווה זו בחוטי הלבן, כך תזכנו לקיים אותה כתקנה בחוטי תכלת, כך כתוב בתורה, ונתנו על סיסית התקנה בתכלת, והנה עמד אדוני אלוהינו עלינו מעשינו היום. So he gives you even a longer thing. The Ben Ish Chai is giving you a whole Shem Yahud to say before doing this, and here we're coming to put it on, to do this, that, and the same way we're doing it now with white strings, allow us in the future to be able to do it with Techelet. So here we are. In my opinion, we're in the days of Techelet. We have Techelet, and as we discussed in a previous class, it's something that people should be using, according to me at least. What does what do you have to say about this? The Chatahillah.
Oh, yeah.
צריך להיזהר לומר בפיו קודם תליית חוטי הסיסית, הריני מטיל סיסיות אלו לשם מצוות סיסית. He also agrees that you have to say verbally these words. ובדיעבד אפילו רק חשב בדעתו שעושה כן לשם מצוות סיסית, ולא עושים מצוותיו כשאלה תלב לברכה. And b'di'avad, if he did not verbalize it, but he only thought it in his mind, okay, it's still okay. Fine? Fine. We move forward in the Ben Ish Chai. Tallet. טוב להיזהר שלא לחתוך חוטי הסיסיות בסכין. It is good to be careful not to cut the sisit strings with a knife. על דרך שנאמר, לא תניף עליהם ברזל. إلا يحتخم بشناف كشصاريخ لحوت خام. Rather, if you need to cut them off for whatever reason, use your teeth. Now again, totally his zahir. It's good to be careful. You can't really say that if you used, let's say your teeth aren't strong enough, okay, or you can't get the right grip, or whatever the case may be. I tell you, totally his zahir. Good to be careful. Is it a halakha? Very difficult to say it's a halakha that you can't do it. Okay. They tell you that based upon a Gemara in Shabbat, that the Sissit are there to lengthen your life and the life of your children. Okay. And by you bringing a blade to it, to cut it, it's like you're cutting off your progeny. You're cutting off the life of your children. And therefore, don't do it. Okay. But again, don't do
Just
it.
stick it
It's
in the
not-
washing machine, the easiest way.
Yeah, that just messes them up. Okay. Again, you can't really tell you, halakha, don't do it. Tov, it's good to be careful. Halakha here. אם שאל טלט מסויסת, אם שאל אותה ללובשה כדי לעלות לדוכן, או לעלות לספר תורה, וכי יעשה, הרי זה לא יברך עליו, אבל אם שאל ועבוד לקיים מצוות עטוף בסיסית, הנה אם שאלו מן השמש, שאלו מדעת בעלים, לא יברך עליו, לברכות אינן מעכבות, וכיוון דאיכא פלטה, ספק ברכות להקל. אבל אם שאלו מדעת בעלים להתעטף בו לקיים מצוות סיסית, יוכל לברך, דאמרינן מסתמא, נתנו לו במתנה, על מנת להחזיר, והרי הוא שלו. And now you borrow a tallet with the strings on it, okay, with the sissit on it. If you borrow it, okay, to put it on, because you're a kohen, you have to go do birkat kohanim. Okay, or they invite you, they give you an aliyah, and you have to wear a tallit. You're going up to the sefer. Okay, don't make a beracha on the tallit. But if you borrowed it in order to fulfill the mitzvah of doing atifa, of wrapping yourself in the tallit, okay, if you borrowed it from the shamash, okay, the shamash generally goes to somebody's koracha and takes out a tallit and gives it to you. That's the way it was. Okay. In other words, the knis didn't have, hundreds of its own tallit. The guy will go to somebody's koracha and take one out. He knows the guy already finished prayer, or the guy doesn't come later to pray, or the guy not in town today, whatever it is. He gave it here. Put it on. So he has no right technically to do that. Okay. Take the tallit, you can put it on, but don't make a beracha. Okay, because of the issue of safek berachot la'akir. But if you actually went to the owner of the tallit, okay, let's say I'm the knis now, I happen to be in Sha'arei Shalom, and Barry, you're still there in Sha'arei Shalom. I'm a guest, I don't have a tallit with me, you're there, Barry, can I buy a tallit? They gave me an aliyah, okay, and I borrowed it from you, it's your tallit, and I know you're lending it to me as a gift for the moment, so I can do the mitzvah. And I'm taking on that assumption, you're giving to me on that assumption, I want to make the mitzvah of atifa. Okay? In that case, I take it and I make a beracha. I do the mitzvah and I can give it back to you after that.
That's like the 11 at all.
Yeah, basically. Okay? Because you gave it to me so I could do it, use it, fulfill the mitzvah, and return it. ואף גב, גם בזה יש אומרים דאין לברך על טלט שאולה כדאי. And even this, there are those who say you should never make a beracha on a borrowed טלט. מכל מקום, בחיי גוונה, יש לסמוך על המנהג. But in any case, in such a case, we rely upon the minhag. This is the minhag. This is the customary practice. When you borrow a talit from the owner, then you make a beracha. And you should not reprimand the person who's making the beracha. Umihu, ירא שמיים יתרחק מטלט שאולה. היכא דאפשר לו. Anybody who's God-fearing should always distance himself from a borrowed tallet. Stay far away from a borrowed tallet. It only runs you into problems.
Only.
Hmm?
Problems, you said?
Yeah. Problems with berachot. Problems of what to do, what not to do.
Yeah.
Is that like in
Okay.
the Kines? Look, you go on Shabbat, you don't bring a challah with you.
Let me finish the paragraph and we'll get there. Okay. V'taletot shel hekdesh. Okay, this is what your question is now. Taletot shel hekdesh, the taletot that are what used to be known as kodesh. Okay, and when people used to donate something to the knis, okay, they would refer this is kodesh. They donated a book and they would stamp the book kodesh, not to be removed. Okay, we don't really see that thing anymore. Okay, but it was common in the community even until the 70s.
Can you
So-
show us some of those stamps?
I can't dig it out right now, no. In fact, no, I don't have anything like that. You can't take it. I was gonna take one once.
Let's setting them
no.
up.
No, but I'll tell you the truth. The place closed down. And it was a big problem what to do with those books at the time. And I was, take one, not take one. So you know what? I'm not running into the problem. I don't need to sell my head for life. I'm not gonna take it. I think they ended up donating all those books to another knis. You know, that way it stayed Kodesh. בתלתו של הקדש, שמונחים בבית הכנסת בתורת צדקה. Okay, they're given as charity to the knis. ללובשם אותם שאין להם תלתות, for those who don't have a tallet to wear them, לכולי עלמא יברך עליהם. According to all opinions, you make a beracha. ואפילו אם לובשן כדי לעלות ספר תורה. And even if you're only putting on to go up to the sefer, still make a beracha. וכמו שכתבו האחרונים בזה. Answer your question. Okay, good. Vav. Oh, wait, I want to see one thing over here. I forgot before. משנת חיים. All right. This is going to talk about somebody's born with Tallet to use because he's Sandak. Let's get this. ואף, בזמן הזה חזינה, רובה דען מקפדה שלא ילבשו אחרים סיסית ותפילין שלהם. Nowadays we see that most people are really particular, that nobody wears their tallet or tefillin. That's true. Most people, in other words,
They don't want it out, you mean?
not only they don't lend it out, people leave their Quran and knis. They don't want anybody touching it. Okay, they expect everything to be as is, the way they left it. They folded a certain way, the tefillin you wrapped a certain way. If you open up in the morning, like, who was here? You know? Okay, בזמן הזה חזינן, רובה דעלמא כבדי שלא ילבשו אחרים סיסית ותפילין שלהם. Okay? ולכן, אין לקח מן השמש סיסית ותפילין של אחרים שלא מדעת בעלים. Therefore, if you come to the knees and you forgot your Quran Sham, you go to the shamash, I need to learn tefillin, don't take from him. Because most probably he's giving you something that the owners don't want touched. Now, there are some people that leave the Koracha and they tell the Shema, if anybody ever needs to wear it, let them use mine. Okay, you have those type of things, scenarios. Only take from the Shemash from things that you know that the owner is not particular like that. הלא גם אנוכי מכיר בעצמי דאנה מאנשי דכבדי בזה והטעמים שונים. He goes, even myself, the Ben Ish Hai, Yosef Haim saying about himself, goes, I'm very particular. I don't want people touching mine. I'm one of those people. He goes, and everybody knows themselves, everybody knows their own particular reasons. So you have to realize this is what I'm telling you is not something that's far-fetched. I don't want anybody touching mine. You know? Okay.
You have a certain way to fold it,
Yeah.
say, put it in the bag, you just take the wrong one out first.
Yeah. Very particular about these things. Okay. Nowadays, I don't know how many places have extra sets of tefillin. Again, back in the day, it used to be very common that Shamash would have extra, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 tefillins around. That if someone comes in and use it, things like you have Tallet that are part of the Kodesh, you have tefillin that are part of the Kodesh. I don't know how common it is nowadays. Sometimes nowadays also it's easier. You call your friend, I'm here, your Kodesh is here, I forgot mine. And also you put a person in the spot, going, I really don't want to, but you're not going to say no. Zayin. מותר להתיר הסיסיות מן הטלט בין גדול בין קטן בשביל הידור מזווה לשים במקומן סיסיות חדשים ונעים יותר אף על פי דאלו הסיסיות שנוטלם הוא משליכם בחומזם והם מניחם בטלט אחר שהרי משום נוי מזווה. It's permissible to remove the Sissit strings from the Tallet, whether we're talking about Tallet Gadol or Tallet Katan, in order to beautify the Mizvah. Meaning, if you want to put nicer quality new strings on your Tallet, you're allowed to remove the old strings, even though there's nothing wrong with them technically, and they're just going to be thrown into Ginizah, because you don't have another Tallet to attach them to. Okay? You're still allowed to do it because you're doing it for the decoration of your existing Tallet, and you want to make it prettier. וכן, אם נפסק כנף אחד, ורוצה לחדש ארבעתם בשביל נוי, שיהיו שווים ודומים זה לזה, מותר להסיר כל השלוש האחרות, לעשות 4 כנפות חדשים שיהיו שווים יחד בשביל נוי מזווה. So now let's say one corner becomes pasul. Okay, you're allowed at that point to remove all of the strings from the entire Tallet, because now you don't want this one set of strings to look brand new, it's gleaming white, and the other ones look a little yellowish. You want everything to look the same, so you're allowed to change them all.
But you gotta use your teeth to cut them off.
Tob, only Tob. Tob is there. Okay. حيث أفعل بي שהכריכו של הסיסית עשאם כמספר שם הוויה, כי יש שמנהגם בכך ואין נוהגים בכריכות של טל, הרי זה מותר להתירם, ואין בזה חשש מוחק את השם כמו שכתבו האחרונים ז"ל. So we spoke before, and we said that when you put on the strings on the Tallet, and the way we wind them between the 2 knots each time, we said 7, 8, 11, 13. But it goes, but not, and that equals, as we said, 39, and that's Hashem Echad. But not everybody does 7, 8, 11, 13. Many people do Yod, then He, and then Vav, and then He, then 10 and 5, and 6 and 5. The equal 26. So now you have, so now can you take this apart? This is now Hashem's name. Can you take it apart? And this is, in fact, the custom of many people. Because some people will do that for Tallet Katan, they'll put 26, and on Tallet Gadol they do 39. And there are some people that just do 39 for both, and there are some people who do 26 for both. Whatever particular minhag is.
What do you do?
I don't wear Tallet Katan.
Uh-huh.
Okay, I've said this before. Only if you have a garment with 4 corners,
Right.
must you put Sissit on it. Also on my Tallet Gadol, I put 39. But technically, if I was going to wear Tallet Katan for whatever reason, I would put 26 over there. 39 on the Gadol, 26 on the Katan. The general Halabi minhag, okay, or was at least, was to do 26 across the board, not 39 and 26. Okay. In any case, the Ben Ish Hai is telling you over here, you could take it apart, even if you're just doing 26. There's not even a doubt of a concern that you are erasing or blotting out God's name. Tallet, כשרוצה להתיר הסיסית, כדי להניח יותר יפים, וקשה עליו הטרחה להתירם, מותר לחותכם. If you're changing your strings, okay, because you want to put better quality strings, more beautiful strings, and it's difficult for you to unravel the strings, it's permissible to cut them. Okay, saying the best way to unravel, untie, the whole thing. It's a big job, but if too much for you, okay, you could cut them. Even though now you've totally destroyed them, they can never be used. Mihu, yesh mahmirin bazeh ve'oslim lahukam, but there are those that are mahmir and say it's asur to cut them. V'sarich lahush ledibrehem, and you do need to be concerned about those people who say it's asur. V'rag b'sha'at haddahak v'sorech gadol yishesmuch al-matrim, and only if you're really in a pinch and there's a great need, then you can rely on those who allow you to cut them. This is the opinion of the Aharonim. Let's see something of that over here. Okay. Tallet מסויסת, יוד, לך יוד. Tallet מסויסת, שנחלקה לשני חלקים. אסור לחזור לתופרה עם הסיסיות שבה, משום תעשה ולא מן העשוי. Now let's say you have a tallet, okay? And it got cut down the middle. The entire tallet got cut down the middle, okay? So now you have two sets of sissit on this side, this piece, and two sets on this one. You are not allowed to come and sew these two halves together, okay? Because you have, and then all of a sudden you have a garment that was created with sissit already on it, okay? You cannot make from something that was already made. You have to remove the strings if you want to sew back that into one garment. Okay. Well, the same thing with a sukkah. Okay, with the sukkah you have situations where how we're going to give you the case. So you have poles up and you have sechach on it.
Without the walls.
No walls at all.
Yeah, right.
And now all of a sudden you put up walls, no good.
Right.
You have to take down the sechach and put it back on. Okay, so that's a problem. كيف يعصي? What do you do? يتير السيسيوت شل حلق أحد مهم دافكا. Remove the sisiyot from at least one half of this garment. بحقق يتفور حلقين يحد. Then you could sew it together. بنمسحها في حلق شين بوسسيد كمو تصفت الحلق الشون. Now, like you added a piece of garment to the sissit garment, to the one that has two, and now you'll add the strings back on. Otherwise, you don't take off all four sets of strings. You could just take off two sets of strings and then put them back on after you sew the garment together. והחרקה אחי עשה סיסית מחדש בחלק הזה, שהוא תוספת לראשון, כן העריתי בספרי הקטן מקבסיאל, בספרי האחרונים. Here's the whole section from there, but we don't need that for reading. Okay, so the Ben Ish Chai wrote another book. Okay, he wrote many books. But over here he's referring to his book called Mekabsiel. And Mekabsiel was basically lost for a very long time. And only recently did they find portions of it. Okay, so this particular edition of Ben Ish Chai, those sections of Mekabsiel, he actually incorporated them into here, if you want to see what it's about. It doesn't really show you much to see, okay? But it's not going to add anything to our discussion. Okay, next. Yod, I think somebody else has something. This one goes. ليش نحن كذا شنايم نخون نحوش اللو لحصول الفرام شو تعصيب من عشوائي اللي يتسوش حاجة أحد محل هاي الفور حالتي من النبي يصيب السيول الدكتور حالتي الفاش وتبرشون. Again, just repeating what the Ben Ish Chai said, he's in agreement with him. Fine. Nothing new. Yod Aleph in the Ben Ish Chai. Shi'ura Tallet Gadol. What is the size of Tallet Gadol? כדי שיקיף כל ראשו וכל גופו עד החזה פנים והחור כמו שכתב רבנו הארי ז"ל בספר הכוונות ת"ד עמוד א' ועמוד ד' והחכמינו זכרם לברכה אמרו כדי שיכסה ראשו ורובו של חתן. So what's the size? The size of Tallet Gadol has to be enough that it will wrap the person's head and his body until including his entire chest area, front and back, like the Ari says, and the Hachari said has to at least cover his head and the majority of the body of a child. Okay, that's the size of Tallet Gadol. Upsifriya Qatan Bekabsiel, once again he's referring to his book Bekabsiel. Hebeti Dibre Rabbinu Ha'ari Zamash Kadab Sefer HaKavanot. So since he's quoting Sefer HaKavanot again and again, let's see what he actually says over here. Tadaf Dalet Amud Aleph. See if he actually marks it like that in here. That's the old paging. It doesn't mark it with the old paging, so we don't know what printing the Ben Ish Chai was actually using to know where that would appear over here. Okay. So if anything, the table of contents, if we could find it quickly, otherwise we pass on. Don't see it. No. All right. وبسفرية كتام كبسيل هبيتي دبري بينها عزيزة مش كتاب سفر كفانوت مش كتاب بعلا تاميد مش كتاب بنهار شالوم ربينها رشش بهجفيتي دبري ربينها أري إم دبري حخامين وثمان بركات كيشيعو زيد نقتي حخامين وثمان بركات بالقطان دباعو رب فوه شفيع مشهود نقيت ربينها أري بقدول بقدول الحازي فيلون نقيت رب فوه بشام نستبقتي عليه الشعور دباعينا بقدول الحازي مدان أروخ ربي يخل بوش الليت مجيع بأدام بنوني الحازي أفعل بيش هذا بإنه مجيع الحازي بعليت دا أزدينان حمام وبعين شيجي لزيها أروخ عادي حازي كي مستيمود برير منها أري لا يوتش تاريخ الشعير كل حاجة في مدته ميهو لكلها لا عبدينان شي ميش قصار قوماه البيش هو قالوا بالشنايم بلا قوما توكي سلاك من الكاتام بتيجا شنيم إني ويقول بوش تليت تيجي على الحازي كيف شزية تليت إنه مجيء بقالوا هذه حازي. But basically he's telling you that when it comes to these measurements, there is no exact measurement. And you can't say, well, what's the size of a person? What's the size of a katan? Every person has to measure for himself because every person's size is different. Some people are taller than others. Some people are shorter than others. Some people are thinner than others. Some people are fatter than others. So you cannot, just say, okay, this is the size. Every person has to actually try it on and make sure that that's what works for him. To be the shi'ur, the measurement of the Tallet Gadol. Halakha Yod Bet. B'shi'ur Tallet Qatan, shelobshin tahat begadim. Okay? Now what about the size of the Tallet Qatan that you wear underneath your clothing? See how it says it's underneath.
Wow.
Okay? He says it very clearly. B'sefri haqatan mekabsiel, once again, it's referring to mekabsiel. Hebeti debreha haronim bazeh. بشام بيتي ماشي عليها هراب الجدول هراب حيين بلاتشي بليب حيين. As we know, Bihayim Palachi wrote many books. As Leb Hayim is 3 volumes of responsa. So he's saying this is in the first volume of Leb Hayim. What is the best way to fulfill the opinion of all the sources? לשער בטלית קטן שיהיה אמה וחצי. To measure the talit katan, that it's amma bahesi. So we say amma is 1.5 feet, okay, and the hesi of that would be 3/4 of a foot, so 2.25 feet, okay, would be the size of a
This way.
yes.
Mhm.
Shehem shiloshim v'shisha gudalim ba'orech, okay. That they come out to 36 gudalim. Gudalim are thumb measures. The amma v'haisi baroha. Okay, and then it has to be amma v'haisi can also be the same amount, 2.25 in width as well. So it's 2.25 length and 2.25 width. ומה גם נספרת רבנו האריד צריך לכסות גופו פנים ואחור. And then also according to the arid has to cover the front and back. עד כאן דבריו עיין שב הרואה יראה בדברי רבנו האריד שלא אמר על טלית קטן שכסה פנים ואחור. But if you look carefully at the words of the arid in Shar Kavanot, it doesn't say it has to cover front and back. إلا أمر شعور שיעטוף את הגוף בלבד הזרוע, that it covers the body but not including the arms. ובזה נראה ואין צריך שיהיה הרוחב אמה וחצי שהוא 36 גודלים אך באורך מדינה לשפין הורה כנספרת הטור לעמה. וצריך לעשות אורכו אמה וחצי שהוא 36 גודלים והנה פה עינון בגדד. So what's our מנהג here in Baghdad is telling you? מנהגם לעשות הטלית קטן אורכו אמה ורביע באמת המדינה. They do it אמה and a quarter. Okay, based upon the amount of the city, of the country. שעולה האורך בזה יותר מ-40 גודלים. This comes out to more than 40 thumb measures. אך הרוחב עושים אותו 3 רבעי אמה. But the רוחב, the width, they only do 3/4 of אמה, שעולה יותר מ-24 גודלים. That comes out to 24 thumb measures. ובתשובה לעיר אחרת, הוריתי לשואל לעשות הרוחב 24 גודלים והאורך 36 גודלים. And when I wrote a response to another city, somebody who asked me, and it's in my Rab Pe'alim, the second volume, I told him that's what you should do. Make sure you do the width 24 thumb measures and the length 36 thumb measures. And that's the measurement of the Ben Ish Hai. So now I'm sure Hakam Yosef is going to have something to say about the measure.
For sure.
I'm sure he would. And he does. Lekh Lekha. אין לברך הטלית קטן, אלא אם כן יש בו כשיעור 2 אמות אורך. Saying Lekh Lekha, you cannot make a beracha on talit katan unless it has a measurement of 2 amot, 3 feet of length. Okay, and it tells you that comes out to 96 centimeters. So, W, you want to double check on your phone? 96 centimeters in feet and inches. What do you have? Does it come out to about 3 feet?
Yeah, 38 inches. So 3 feet 2.
3 feet 2 inches. Yeah. Okay. And then the width has to be 1 amma, okay, 1.5 feet. And it tells you over here 48 centimeters. 48 centimeters comes out to
19 inches almost exactly.
19 inches. So 1.5 feet, yeah. ושיעור זה, and this measurement, הוא מלבד הנקב של בית הסבה, and this doesn't even include the opening for the neck. כלומר, שצריך שיהיה שיעור הטלית אמה מלפניו ואמה מלאחריו מלבד הנקב. That means you have to have 1.5 feet in the front of you, 1.5 feet in back of you, and all this is without measuring for the opening. Okay, so basically from the opening to the bottom, you have 1.5 feet, the opening, and 1.5 feet. Okay, and you have to have half a man. In other words, if we said the aman is 1.5 feet, so you have to have 3/4 of a foot on each side of you. Okay. About pahot mishi'ur zeh. Obviously, Talmud Yosef size is larger than the Ben Ish Hai size. Okay. Pahot mishi'ur zeh, less than this size. Af'al pi she'echol al-bosh l'kayim v'tzisit. Even though you can wear it to fulfill the mizvah of Sissit, mikol makom lo yibarech aleh, but you cannot make a beracha on. Shesafek berachot la'akel. When in doubt, do not make a beracha. Ela yibarech al talit gadol v'yechaven b'berkato liftor talit katan. Rather make a beracha on the big talit and have kavana, have intention to cover the talit katan as well. V'haminhag she'enu berachin kela al talit katan. And the custom is to never make a beracha on talit katan. So why did he go into this whole discussion for?
Makes no sense.
But he's telling you the minhag. Many Shai is telling you the minhag of Baghdad for the size. Talmud Yosef is telling you the size that has to be the chatahila to make a beracha. And if it's not going to be that size, you can still wear it to fulfill mizvah of Sissit, but you can't make a beracha, so have the talit gadol beracha, the ta'ativ b'Sissit beracha cover the talit katan. Then at the end, minhag, we don't make a beracha whatsoever. So what was this whole thing for? Why did we need to know it?
I don't know. But in the beginning, didn't we, in the first, in Bereshit, didn't we say that the Tallet Katan was a chobah? It sounded like an obligation,
Okay,
as I recall.
but he's telling you the custom is not to make a beracha.
Okay. But he did say that, right?
The Ben Ish Hai talked about the importance of wearing it, and he talked about the beracha on it as well.
And Chacham Ovadia didn't.
I don't recall him saying anything about it.
I don't remember.
Okay, we can always go back and double check.
Okay. It's a couple months ago. I don't remember. More,
Yeah, I
3
know.
months ago.
We had a long hiatus. I was busy. Well, something else over here. Though. Hold on. Oh, Talmud Yosef continues because we saw that Ben Ish Hai says right away that we wear the talit katan beneath the clothing. So this is a big point of the Talmud. Yeah, tells you minhag السفراdim ve'ilot hamizrah lelbosh talit katan tahat begadim. The custom of the Sephardim and all the Jews of the Middle East is to wear the talit katan beneath the clothing. Even the strings are covered beneath the clothing. And this custom has its foundation among the holy mountains. This is also the proper custom, the way to act according to the Mekubalim.
Aren't you supposed to see them now? Or
What do you call it? Doesn't have to be those. It could be the Tallet Gadol. It could be, you could be the guy sitting next to you. You could see his too.
You're holding them usually.
Ve'af Talmidei HaYeshivot, and even the Talmidim of the Yeshivot, Tob v'nachon shelo yishanu memenhag avotehem. It's good and well that they do not deviate from the practice of their fathers. In other words, he knows the yeshivot of all Ashkenazi yeshivot, and all the Sephardim are going over there. Don't follow the trend of the school. But the bnei yeshivot of the Ashkenazim, okay, the Ashkenazi custom to walk around with the Sissit hanging out. They could do. They have a source to rely upon to do what they're doing. Okay, but it's not for us. And he goes on about this at length. Okay. Next halacha. Yod Gimel. Nashim v'abadim peturim mizvat Sissit. Okay, women and slaves are exempt from the mizvat Sissit. Even if they weren't wearing the full corner garment, they do not have to put on Sissit. Because it's a time-dependent positive commandment, and therefore they're exempt. בכל מצוות עשה שהזמן גרמה, נשים ועבדים פטורים. And we know any time dependent positive commandment, women and slaves are exempt. ואף על גב, דקיים אדן, בשופר, בסוכה, וחיוסה. Okay, even though we have other time-dependent positive commandments, like shofar and sukkah. If they want to fulfill those mitzvot, hareshut beyadam, they have permission to do so. And they even get the reward like somebody who is not commanded and does so.
Do you know any women that wear tzitzit?
Personally, no, I don't. Why do you?
No.
I don't. Veleka mishum. Let me just finish the paragraph and we'll discuss that. Veleka mishum kol patur min hadavar ve'osehu nikra hidyot. And this does not fall under the guideline and the ruling that anybody is exempt from an action and does it is considered a hidyot. Okay, I'm not going to tell you a hidyot is an idiot, but a hidyot is a simpleton in this sense. Okay, mikol makom, in any case, b'mizvazo mahazeh keyuhara. In this case, it looks like yuhara, like you're being haughty, you're showing off. Ha! I'm wearing a tallet. Here I am. I'm a woman or I'm a slave, and I'm wearing a tallet. Look at me, everybody. Ve'od yesh hashash name mishum lo tilbash isha kili geber. And also, we have another concern that a woman is forbidden to wear a man's garment, and vice versa. This is considered a man's garment, and therefore asur. Al-ken b'sissit sarich lemnoa otam. Therefore, with sissit, we have to prevent the woman from doing such a thing. Like all the various poskim mentioned. ובספר הכוונות מפורש טעם פירתי במזווה זו על פי הסוד. According to Sefer HaKavanot, there is a reason, according to the Kabbalah, that this is not something properly, not something that is that should be done by women, based upon the sword, according to these secret spheres of realms of heaven. Now, as far as women wearing tallit, I personally don't know any. Does it happen out there? Remember a few years ago, was the whole thing with the schools and the girls wearing, tallit, all different things like that.
No, it's a tefillin. I'm a tallet.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you have the woman of the wall.
Oh, you have the reform that though.
I've seen it. You know that guy Avi Weiss out in Riverdale? I once went there, had a friend living there, whatever. And the Hitzah is very low.
Right.
And the lady right behind us, and me and my brother are standing there, this lady with Tallet around her. Never seen it before. This was 25 years ago.
Oh. All right. Yod Dalet. Khatan. היודע להתעטף, צריך אביו לקח לו סיסית לחנכו. A child who knows how to make atifa, the father has to get him a tallit to teach him. Okay, that's our practice.
Yeah.
We start wearing tallit from a very young age. Okay, and that's what we brought. V'hai qatan yesh omnim ben tesha shanim. And those say that qatan is 9 years. V'yesh omnim hapikeach ben shesh, the more intelligent one from the age of 6. Ve'eno pikeach ben sheba, and that the kid that's not so intelligent from 7. So basically he's saying the youngest age is 6, but we already start before 6. Okay. Tidvav. Laila loves him and Sissit. The night is not time for Sissit. Right? David said, so you have to see it. It means daytime and not nighttime. Perashat the chesut Laila. Now, if you're talking about your night clothing, different story, right? Because if you remember in the beginning, he talked about wearing the sissit even at night in your bed, and I'll take it off, etc. About kesut someh hayab b'sissit. But the blind individual, even though he can't see, he still has to wear sissit. מפני שישנו בראייה אצל האחרים. Okay, because so other people can see him and see what he's wearing. ולכן אפילו אם ילבשנו הסומא, חייב להטיל בו סיסית. If the blind person is wearing it, he has to wear סיסית. ובספרי הקטן רב פעלים, in my book of response called רב פעלים, הבאתי בתשובתי שם דברי הרב הגדול, הרב חיים פלאצ'י, בלב חיים, שכתב אף על גב דקיימלן סומא חייב בסיסית מכל מקום, מאחר דאי כמאן דאמר הסומא פטור, יקיים מצוות סיסית בלא ברכה משום ספק ברכות להקל. According to Rabbi Chaim Palachi, that since the someh, the blind man, cannot actually see it, he should actually put on the tallet, don't make a beracha, because he's not completing the whole thing. ושם העליתי בראיות, מאחר דפשט המנהג שהסומא מברך, יש לו לברך. And I, Rabbi Yosef Hayim, disagree with Rabbi Chaim Palachi, and I showed that based upon the common practice of people making berachot, even the blind man makes a beracha on the tallet, and there are sources for it, and I explained it in my book, Rabbi Ali. We don't have to be concerned about making an unnecessary beracha. And even Rabbi Chaim Palachi, in another one of his books, Mu'ayyid L'Kol Hai, says that the blind man makes beracha. So he basically,
Contradictory.
he got a little contradictory, or one is written at different times in his lifetime. And one is writing what he feels should be, and one is writing what the practice is. But whenever we have, this is a very important rule, and we've discussed it in the past. Whenever there's a minhag, the minhag is basically developed that a beracha is said, we don't say safed berachot la'akid. We don't say when in doubt beracha, do we omit it? V'zehu minhag pashut, and this is the common practice. She'asomeh mibarech al tallet, that even the blind man makes a beracha al tallet. V'im yabol et hased l'shmo'a beracha me'achayim. But if he wants to be pious and hear the beracha from others, davar hazeh kashe la'asoto b'chol yom. It's a difficult thing to do every day. And then it could cause other problems another way. And obviously he cut himself off, he didn't want to get into it. Okay? But say follow the practice. Everybody, the people, you have to also understand, they lived at a time where blindness was much more common. Thank God today we don't have as many blind people. Okay, and there's much less all the time, but they ran into blind people a lot. I don't know if it was only in the Middle East, but we've come across halachot pertaining to blind people a lot. And so this is the common practice. It's the way the minhag is. That even the blind man makes a beracha. Go with it. Hidzai. Mehama de'ika piluta bin harambam. בהראש, בכסות המיוחד ליום ולילה, ובכסות המיוחד ללילה ולבשו ביום, ומרן זה לא גילה דעתו, לכך צריך להחמיר באיסור תורה כחומרות שתי הסברות הנזכרות, להטיל סיסית בכסות המיוחד ליום וללילה, אף אם לבשו בלילה, וכן יטיל לכסות המיוחד ללילה, אם לבשו ביום. אבל לעניין הברכה, כיוון לספק ברכות להקל, לא יברך אלא אם לובש ביום כסות המיוחד ליום, או כשלובש ביום כסות המיוחד ליום ולילה, כנזכר באחרוני. All the saying basically, it doesn't make a difference if the clothing is night clothing or day clothing. It really goes by the time that you're wearing it. If you're wearing it in the daytime, then, you have to have sissit on it, you have to make a beracha. If you're wearing night clothing during the day, daytime, you'd make a beracha. If you're wearing day clothing at night, even though it has four corners, you have to put sissit on it, you definitely don't make a beracha. Okay, next. Yod Zayin. Sidinim v'charim. Okay, so now we're talking about sheets, pillowcases, things like that. Even though sometimes you sleep in the day, you take a nap. Nikraim kesut layla. They're considered clothing of the night, even though you're not wearing it yourself, but it's garments that are used, okay? Clothing, the clothing for the bed is still your clothing because it's for you. And use it at night. But they're made for night. For those who say that kisut layla, night clothing, is required in Sissit, if you wear it during the day, you have to put Sissit. Because when you wake up in the morning, it's already morning, right? So you don't always have to wear it because you're not getting away from that unless you're waking up when it's still dark constantly. But otherwise, people tend to wake up when the sun is up, at least a portion of the year, and now it becomes boker, it becomes daytime. But regardless, the custom is not to put Sissit. Excuse me. Even if they're complete wool. But it's only for clothing that you actually wear, not clothing that you cover yourself with. Yes, you're getting under your sheet, under your cover, but that's not actually wearing it. And therefore, the custom developed based upon whether you wear the clothing or don't wear the clothing. Because, of course, there are those who disagree, like everything else we have. So make one corner rounded. And you,
Easier said than done.
yeah. Again, they made their own things. They didn't go to the store and buy sheet sets. It was very different. شمي بتوري من تورا شمي لخ كما عند عمر كنتم يحلل لبت بيوم وشكي شمي سفك وبين تورا فك شاب دور بنا مسفك لحال كبير دامك إن كتب جون إيش أبراهام من الأدلي إيش بزيد شو سفكوت وهو شمي لخ كما عند عمر كوش شو ذلك الصعاب إنه ذلك بيشاء إنه قد بسوا فتور هكين إن أكيد الدنيا شو مني وشو سيمن فجاب إيش بزيد شو سفكها كيف ده بشاد كيما كيف الحال لا سب خلنا بيسوع تورا أسفك سفكها no reason to explain all that, just trying to show legal jurisprudence to get out of it. Next, يحد مطار لهطيل سسيود بتلت وقشتم بالليلة بتلت هم يحال اليوم. مطار لهطيل سسيود بتلت والقشتم بالليلة بتلت هم يحال اليوم أفل جاب للرمبام ودعيميك يسود يوم بالليلة بتوراه ليك منهم يشوم تعاسي وضمها عسوي يشوم الإزمان من ملاك عاتيه ويقدم مع شالوش لإيه محيب بينها لو كده بس خامش بزوها. All right, I don't know why we did this, but okay. He tell you it's permissible to remove Sissit from a Tallet and then tie them on to another Tallet at night that you're going to wear during the day. Okay, even though, according to the Rambam and others, okay, a day clothing at night is exempt. And don't think that this is like your case of before, that now we have a ready garment that lo and behold turned into a garment with Sissit on it, and it was ta'aseh v'lo min ha'asul.
Okay, next.
Yeah, next, but we have a chamoria on this. Why? Let's find out. He tells him, "Mutar lehatir chutei asisi b'bigah tzei b'layla v'afilu echatehila v'afal gab d'layla z'man hu mishum ta'asim v'asul." So he repeats the same thing again. Again, a lot of these comments, and I was really surprised from the Chamoria Yosef, are basically reiterating and agreeing with exactly what the Ben Ish Hai said. So even though people think that Chamoria Yosef was coming out against Ben Ish Hai, so far we're seeing most of the time he's in agreement. Okay, almost done. Hasisiyot, tashmishe mizvahim, right? The sisiyot, the strings are tashmishe mizvah. Ve'en begufan kedusha, but they have no intrinsic holiness of themselves. Lefichach, bizman shekibu'im betallet, asur l'ishtamish bahem tashmish shel hol. All the while that they are tied on Tallet, you cannot use them for any sort of mundane act, for any sort of secular act. Kigon, for example, likshor bahin is to tie something with. Okay? For whatever reason you want to use the strings there to tie something with, you can't do it. Gam yizdahin shelo yu nigrarin al gabe karka. You also have to be careful that they do not drag along the floor. Mishum bizyon mizvah, because it's an embarrassment, it's belittling to the mizvah. Ve'ahar shenifsteku min tallet yechol zukan. But after they become detached from the tallet, you're actually allowed to throw them away. Okay, they don't need guineas or anything. Ve'rak lo yizrakim the ashpa, okay, or the makom miguneh. Don't throw them into a trash heap, okay, or into a disgusting place. In other words, wrap them up, put them in a little paper bag, and then put them into the garbage can, nice and neat, clean. Ve'yesh mahmir goes on. Those that who mahmir to put them in gniza, and those people tabu alayhim beracha. Okay, you want to be mahmir for it. Kaf. Talleto shel mizvah shibad. Now you have a tallet, a mizvah, but became worn out. Okay, the tallet is no longer, fitting to be worn. Asur lekaneyah bahim or lishtashvahim tashmish miguneh. You cannot wipe yourself with a tallet or use them for any sort of disgusting act. Illa zorkan vehim kalim ma'alehim. Either you throw them out and they disintegrate on their own. ואותם שנוהגים לזורקם בבית הכנסת והשמשים מקנחים בהם נרות בית הכנסת. Those people take them to the kines and throw them to the kines, and what happens? The shamash ends up taking them to polish lights, to polish, different things and clean them. וגם ידיהם מלוכלכים בשמן. Or we have to remember that they didn't have electric lights, they had, different oil lamps. Okay, and now their hands are getting full of oil. These lights are full of oil. This is a disgusting way of using a worn-out tallet, and it's asur. It's forbidden. So tallet wears out, leave it on the side, let it disintegrate. Don't give it to shamash to play with like that. Or it's easy, you could put it in geniza. Okay, that's what most people do nowadays, because you have no way of really dealing with it otherwise. Final halakha in Perashat Lekh Lekha, halakha kaf alef, mutar la'asor mitallet gadol, tallet qatan. Okay, you could turn a tallet gadol into tallet qatan. Ken hi'ala harab bet Yehuda. Abel harab lebhayim, pik bazem mishum da'al pi hasod, tallet gadol yeshbo ma'ala rabba al tallet qatan. Again, according to the Bihayim Palachi, you cannot, because according to the Kabbalah, according to the sword, the stature of the Tallet Gadol is much greater than the Tallet Katan. You cannot diminish that stature. And to Benish Hay is telling you, yes, he's right. But if part of it really got worn out and it went bad and you can't wear it, you could use the piece that's remaining to make a tallit katan, and you have nothing to worry about concerning such a thing. Just want to see what else is there. You had one more halakha, mutar asum tallit gadol katan, hayoter afilu tallit gadol adayin ra'ud mizvato, ve'en shayich l'mar bezeh kalom hanim b'lenim, v'am kela zeh ila l'nyan tishmi kedusha, ve'lo l'aynet mizvah. So Chama Yosef disagrees with the Ben Ish Hai and the Bihayim Palachi, and he says, you don't have to worry about, that you're making a holy item less holy, okay? It's still a tallit. Whether you want to call it tallit gadol or tallit katan, you want to turn the gadol into a katan, it's not a problem whatsoever. We're done. Amen. Thank you, Jackie. I think you left already. And thank you, Nassim.
Okay.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night.